Now when you have completed your exercise, let me say a few words about it. You definitely have a good idea, but I would also think that you definitely have very different ideas. Because for different people, values and understandings might be different, even if we talk about the same kind of things. So let's say if you try to define what a good life is in terms of emphasizing that good life is about satisfying your basic necessities, good life is about achieving your goals, good life is about having loved people around you. This is one way to define, but as I say, different people will define it in a slightly different way. Though I would still believe that the core is about the values, and this is very important. Whether we talk about individuals or whether we talk about a teaching profession. Let's assume that when you reflected on what a good human being is, you said that a good human being is somebody who is caring, loving, nurturing, being positive, intelligent. Again, you might have defined it in a different way, but still I would think that many people would talk about values here too. And when we talk what freedom might mean for each of us, we can talk about things of a more high level, like freedom means freedom of thinking, or freedom of expressing own opinions. But freedom can also mean something like having your private space and your private time. This is about thinking about freedom in the more practical terms, in the more contextual terms. So at this point, you just keep your definitions in mind, and then as we proceed through the session, you probably make connections to certain perspectives in the theories that we will discuss today. So it's natural for humankind and for each individual think about what we ought to live our lives like. We always think about how we should treat other people, how we approach other people, how we build a communication process with other people. We always get some inputs from the environment, and we always tend to reflect, and this is how we define also our place in this world. We people today, and we people centuries ago, we have always also thought what means the right action or the wrong action, what it is that distinguishes the concepts of right and wrong, what it is that we shape our behavior according to what we think is right or what is wrong. So whenever we think and whenever we define what our values or what our emphasis are, we always define our action, because our thinking is always continued in our action. So people have always been trying to address the questions, the ethical questions. We have always linked our understanding of a good life or of a good human being to what is right and wrong. But of course, these kind of definitions we have in our mind are very much shaped up and very much influenced by our cultural and societal contexts we live in. We also keep in mind that various subjects of study or various perspectives have their own say in what actually values or right and wrong is. It depends if you look at this from the perspective of science or from the perspective of religion or maybe political system, and from the perspective of cultural and art heritage. So the different subjects of study will have, of course, different emphases and different interests, but they will all add to our understanding what we as human persons are, and what we as good human beings are like, and what is right and what is wrong. So ethical values are always there to sort of regulate our action, because we live in a society and we understand that for effective communication and for effective interaction we need to agree with people around us. So when we talk about education in this concept, what the task of education is, it has always been about transferring values to next generations. It has always been about modeling practices and action to next generations. It has always been about sharing the experiences, sharing the thinking, in order to have the continuity in the humankind. So by pulling all these things together, now we understand that indeed the way we see the human person defines how we eventually think about education. Of course, ideals in education have also been redefined through the history, and as I say, at different periods of time there have been different interests or different emphasis what the ideals in education are. If, let's say, in medieval centuries the ideals of education would be obedient and obedient person who is worshipping the God. Of course, now in the 21st century we understand that even if we have the perspectives of history in our mind, we still see education as targeting other goals too. So ideals in education will always follow the development in society and the development through the history, and they are subject to a very slow change. Education system itself is a system which by definition involving lots of minds and lots of different practices is very difficult to change or to remodify in the short term. So education and ideals in education are always slow to change, which is not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It is just in a way to think about education system as a sort of a protective mechanism for our humankind. So if we think about what ideals in education have been some time ago and what they are now, of course we will relate it to our own context and to our own countries and to our own cultures and to our own religious perspectives. So I would like to encourage you to think about your own experiences and maybe experiences that your parents or your relatives have shared with you, and keep it at the back of your mind in order again to relate these ideas to the concepts we will discuss when we go into the learning theories discussion. As an example, I just give you the ideas from the Finnish education system. Earlier, let's say 100, even 100 years ago, the ideals of the system were obedience, modesty, patience, quietness, gratitude. So learners and students have been they were expected to behave in a way that would be easier, let's say, controlled. But let's now look at the values of today's education system. They definitely have changed. They might have also changed in the countries of your region, but they also have changed in Finland. And what we see now as values and new ideals in education systems, they are here. They are being open, being flexible. We talk about tolerance. We talk about ability to take another person's perspective and see things from his point of view. We talk about respecting each other and also respecting each other's opinions and thinking. We talk about new realities which require from us to solve disagreements and to solve confrontations through discussion and reasoning. And we are expected to view our partners in communication as equal partners in their rights and their duties. So as you see, there is a big thinking shift from the values and ideals that even here in Finland we had 100 years ago, towards the values and ideas current reality suggests. So again, think about this shift through the history and think about the time frame, and indeed try to understand that these things happen in a very slow, at a very slow pace. But I think generally the values and ideals in education in today's world, they are universal. I think in any part of the world we understand that every child is unique and valuable as he is. We talk about children's rights, we talk about different organizations that protect children's well-being and welfare. So there is a general universal understanding that child is unique and really important and valuable as he is. We also talk about every child being equally valuable. In a way, I could say it differently. It means that a child who has, let's say, a disability is equally valuable and important to the society as the child who is, let's say, developing in a normal way. So every child, whatever differences in learning we face, every child is equally valuable. And of course, as for today's universal value and ideal, as we know, child is a social being. Child is an agent in the society he lives in. So learning always happens through interaction. And I think this point I have brought up in the previous sessions too. So when we talk about today's values and ideals from the perspective of a child, let's see how new tasks or tasks in the current world, tasks of educators are defined in relation to the values and ideals from the child's perspective. So, of course, when we talk about each child being valuable and unique, we talk about the main task of educators, promoting child's overall well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being. We talk about another important task of educators of today. It is fostering good practices. So, as I say, it's one of the essential values we keep in mind, education is for us to continue with our values and continue with our valuable experiences into the future. So the teacher's role is very important here. Teachers are in a position to help children to develop in the best possible way, to maximize children's potential, and to model good practices in life. And of course, we talk about supporting child towards developing independency skills. So we consider that this is another important task of educators, because we are looking forward to raising self-sufficient, independent individuals, citizens of society, and this is why we are there to support their development in that direction. It is time again for another reflection exercise, and this is the exercise that we will implement and complete in several stages. So for the start, I would like you just to get like mentally ready and to reflect on what you think a teacher and a student is. So you will need to again take a piece of paper and a pen and write your spontaneous thought about how you define a teacher and how you define a student. You don't have to again worry about the format. It can be just a few keywords, or it can be a few sentences. Main thing that you will not think for too long, but you will write your thinking as it is of now.